I suppose as everyone's starting to join, I'm Christy Mead. I'm going to be hosting you all this evening, and a very big welcome to everyone to join us here for our Pilot Farm Network webinar. As the last few are getting themselves into the room, I'm just going to say really a big welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to be your go-to person for all things related to this Pilot Farm Network, and will also be obviously your host going through today's webinar. You'll notice to make things go smoothly, your camera and microphone are automatically turned off. We're going to keep it that way throughout the presentation, but if you do have any questions, feel free to use the chat Q&A icon at the top of the screen and post them up in there, and then we can see them as we go through the event. So for those of you that have just joined, I'm Christy Mead. So we're going to kick into things very, very shortly. Absolutely thrilled to see and share these incredible innovations with you that we've got on showcase tonight. And we'll get started since we have a jam-packed agenda for you this evening. So tonight we've got a really great lineup of things to share with you. We're going to be kicking off with Nikki giving an introduction and some background into the Pilot Farm Network itself. Then we'll move into some updates on the innovations that we had in our first launch back in the spring, followed by presentations from tonight's innovators with pilots ready and available for everyone to sign up to. And then a sneak peek into one of the innovations coming to the network a little bit later this year, before I wrap up with how to get involved in all of our next steps as well. For starters, I'm going to hand over to Nikki to introduce herself and also give some insight into the Pilot Farm Network.
Thanks, Christy. And look, welcome everybody, and a big thank you for hopping on board this evening. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Nikki Hislop. I'm the one of the South Island Ravensdown Farmer Director, but I also sit on the Ignition board, and I am certainly a really enthusiastic supporter of the Pilot Farm Network initiative. In fact, our farm in South Canterbury participated in the first round of getting new innovation on farm through Cropmark Seeds, and while it's certainly early days, it is all looking really good, and the process was fantastic. So as farmers, we are certainly in a really challenging environment, but we're also in one where opportunities still exist. And now more than ever, the role of technology and innovation could provide some really credible solutions and ways in which we can turn the dial once more on productivity and farm profitability. Ignition's role is to scout for credible innovation and then put them in farmer hands through our Pilot Farm Network. Having you as engaged, curious farmers ready to test these innovations at scale and provide us with real-time feedback is the incubation we have been missing an egg until now. So a really big thank you to those who are keen to get involved. So today, look, as Christy said, we're going to hear from one of last year's innovation and see how that's going on farm. And we're here also to listen to some new innovations to consider, which I'm really looking forward to. So look, I hope you enjoy this evening, ask those questions, and we look forward to further discussions with you. Thanks, Christy.
Thanks so much, Nikki. So I suppose after launching the network in quite a low-key way back in the spring, we were super encouraged by the response from farmers who did attend. It's still very much still a new concept, and we're learning all the time, particularly on how best to get a bunch of farmers into a webinar to hear all about the innovation. My favourite stat on the screen there is the one where the farmers that came along to our webinar back in the spring, around half of them signed up to one or more of the innovations and pilots that we had available. So it was just so rewarding to see that people were keen to engage with what we had and how we were presenting it. And also some feedback from the Pilot Farm Network as a concept was really great. The most common comment I got when speaking to farmers was, when's the next one? So here we are, which is really exciting to see. So I suppose to recap a little bit, last year we had an amazing range of innovators that kicked off pilots in the spring. I'll go through a high-level update for AIMA and CropX, and then take a deeper look into Cropmark, Nanobubble and Carbon Crop. So we're really pleased to have all 5 of these innovators on board for our launch and showcase a really great range of innovation right across our industry as well. So going into AIMA, just to say a little bit more. So AIMA had an AI-powered digital assistant for dairy farmers where essentially you could unlock your farm profitability through improved monitoring of pasture intake and quality, while saving a huge amount of time on farm walks as well. So since the spring, over the last few months, they've been working really hard on their Vision app, where you simply scan the pasture on your phone as you stand in the paddock. And they have now launched it for the Manawatu, Canterbury, Southland, West Coast, in addition to the original Waikato region too. So super excited to hear how that's going. Also utilising drones to gather data as well in the pipeline. Some feedback is being collected from beef farmers to see what AIMA and Vision might look like on their farms going forward. CropX, they had a really great DIY automated soil sensor and a web platform for a massive amount of insight into soil conditions, nitrogen movement, and irrigation recommendations as well. In the second half of this year, they have some exciting things coming up. So further results from their plant and food research project on the CropX nitrogen leaching detection and how this can be used to support farmers to monitor their leaching. An easy to set up and use effluent management and monitoring system, as well as a sensor for the direct measurement of evapotranspiration, all aiding in those decisions on farm around irrigation and soil management as well. We're really looking forward to seeing how those roll out throughout the year. Cropmark brought to the Pilot Farm Network their brand new novel endophyte in a high-performing perennial ryegrass for farmers to pilot. The farmers drilled this either back in the spring or more recently in the autumn, and it will now be launching commercially in the market as Stampede CM142. It's performed exceptionally well in the animal safety trials that they've been running on it, and they're experiencing no staggers at the moment. You can get a hold of Stampede from 1st of July onwards, either through Cropmark directly or through Ravensdown. You're most welcome to flick me a message and I can put you in touch with the right person. There's a wee photo there for you to see of how it's been performing against some other pasture species comparatively and some trial work as well. We're actually going to hear tonight from one of the pilot farmers themselves. So we're going to welcome Rob Hewitt to the webinar this evening. Rob wears many hats. He's a sheep and beef farmer based in Otago, while also holding key roles in agricultural governance, notably with Silver Fern Farms and Farmlands. But today he's here to share his experiences and insights on the Cropmark CM142 pilot underway on his farm. So we'll get Rob's sound ready to go and then we'll have a wee chat. Rob, just pipe up once you can hear me.
That's all good. I was wondering how you're going to pull that trick, Christy. Good on you.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks
for coming on.
Been a wee bit of a rush getting here. Late breaking plane, the network crap in Auckland last night still flying through. So anyway, talk about that paddock. Oh, it looked good. I had very little to do with that other than specify the grass seed that was going to go into it. So it's the farm's down in between Milton and Lawrence. We get around about 900 mils of rain a year. The altitude in that paddock is around about 220 metres above sea level. It's facing north there in that aspect. It struck really well. We had a bit of weed. You can see the spray in there. It was sown out the back of a power harrow. So the previous crop that was in that paddock was fodder beet. It was either fodder beet or Raphno. I think it was fodder beet on that side. And so reasonably high focus on it in terms of nutrient analysis for the previous 2 years. We run a fodder beet, Raphno, and then switch them around, feed it to calves, and this was going in after that. Compared to the other grass that we had on the place that was sown roughly at the same time, basically the same week, this established really well. And by far and away the best establishment and productivity off all the grass seed that we've sown this year. So I was doing it for curiosity. I think you've converted me to buying a bit more grass seed, Christy. It's a good crop.
Oh, that's excellent. Is there anything in particular, like farming where you are, challenges, whether that's climate or weed or pest in particular, that you're kind of working with in your space?
Nothing that unusual. We're not irrigated. We don't have a lot of groundwater. There's a few streams, but nothing of any major consequence. The rainfall, I think probably the secret with South Otago is the lack of evapotranspiration as opposed to plenty of rainfall. We just don't tend to lose. The nor'westers don't come through. So we do hold on. We have had a history in recent years of dry autumns. There's a triangle between Owaka, Clinton and where I live that the southerlies tend to bypass, that the Southland area gets, and that's caused issues for pastures holding on when we're trying to finish lambs for the autumn and flush particularly toothers. The Stampede performed really well. Out of all of the paddocks that we had sown, this grass was by far and away the best. So yeah, I've got no issues with recommending it. Certainly for my farming operation, I'll be doing more of it.
Yeah. So you're grazing it mostly with young stock at the moment, sort of looking to keep that in that part of the system.
Yeah,
on the
we
place?
had basically two lives. It was all lambs. So the first flush was with, or the first growth with grazing was with the ewe hoggets, the keepers, and they've done really well. We switched it out for sort of the second tranche, second cut works lambs around about March, and they've just gone. I think we've got 100 left. So they've finished nicely. So yeah, but similar growth rates. The stock looked really content. There was no shit or no scours or anything like that, and the growth kept on coming in behind it. So yeah, can't really speak too much highly on it.
I suppose like looking to the future of these paddocks, like you'll keep this in for another few years and then they'll roll back through a cropping cycle, or what's sort of next, I suppose, for these paddocks for you?
Look, it's a really good question because we're actually changing our winter cropping program. So we winter everything on cattle. Calves are on fodder beet and Rathno, and we do that mainly as yearlings because it gets them away to good spring growth rates, and then they finish on a techno system with the aim of drafting everything by May. Usually we're successful at that. Certainly in the steers we are. In the cull heifers we get about, depending on the year, somewhere between half and 3/4 of them away. So there's a small residual tail on the heifers usually. But what we're doing with our winter cropping now is putting cows onto bale grazing, and partly that's about feeding the biologicals in the ground as well, just seeing if we can minimise the amount of black dirt come springtime. This paddock is likely to be in grass longer than our previous rotations because we will be putting less area into winter crop over time and taking more baleage. And hay. So this paddock will be baled at some stage. It's right beside the lane and easy access. So we'll see how that goes in future years. Haven't done anything on it yet.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, we're definitely keen to keep tabs on how it all goes. Other than that, is there any final comments on either the grass or the Part Farm Network in general from your experience so far?
Look, I found this quite a cool thing to be involved with. It suits me, and I'm naturally curious. So of course I'm going to say that. I'm actually doing one of the lysometers as well through CropX. I haven't used it particularly well, so I'm going to ring Bridget and say, what the hell do I do with this data now? But it's really about nutrient transfer for me. I also do a lot of carbon stuff on my own account, so I'm doing what the carbon project is doing myself personally, but same thing. So yeah, this is all right in the sweet spot. As farmers, we need to be looking at these sorts of opportunities for our own farming operations. We've got to be able to make more with the same or even less. And so we've got to make every post a winning one. So good on you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. And thank you for coming on and sharing your insights. It's great to hear from someone directly that's got it on the ground. Awesome. Perfect. So moving on, I suppose, from CropMark, we had Nanobubble was another one of our innovators that launched with us in the spring. They have a unit that boosts oxygen saturation in irrigated water to improve fruit yield, particularly looking at orchards. Then it retrofits into your existing irrigation system as well. So it's actually being piloted by the team at Turley Farms on their Rocket Apple Orchard located in Temuka near Timaru. So they've got 20 hectares of orchard in where a portion of the irrigation has been switched across to connect with the Nanobubble unit for the pilot. This is actually one of very few trials with younger trees, and they're really keen to see if there's any improvement in the growth and vigor of these trees as they kind of go through before they start fruiting. The trial is actually going to be going ahead for another year to validate the outcome, which is super exciting. So we're looking forward to seeing how that goes in their farm system on the soil type that is down there as well. For the future for Nanobubble, they're now actually getting their technology into dairy farms with pivot irrigation systems in. The initial data seems to be coming through really well from both pasture production and water usage perspective. You can see a couple of the stats there of what they found on one of their trial farms from a recent open day. The Nanobubble team are also getting out about to some of the industry events, chatting with people around this technology. But if anyone does want to know more about it, feel free to get in touch with me and I can put you in contact directly with the right person. It's quite novel, quite interesting. So yeah, cool to see it starting to happen in a different part of the industry as well. The final innovator from the spring that I'll just share a little bit more about is the Carbon Crop team. So they had a platform where you can better monitor your carbon for easy carbon scenario planning and forecasting. It has a full life cycle support for restoring forests, storing carbon and getting paid. Farmers that signed up to our pilot got access to the mapping and reporting tools to try out on their own farms. Some of the results that came out of that pilot was super exciting. We had 8 farmers who participated in the pilot. Of that, there was around 3,100 hectares of land analysed in the tool all up. And of that, there was around 1,200 hectares of forest. Amongst these farms, there was about 200 hectares that was actually eligible now for the ETS, and some other land that was either not eligible for the ETS or already registered as well, which was pretty cool. Some of the farmers, they all used the tool to better understand both what they had already and the potential for future carbon plantings as well. And they found it easy to use and got great insights for their own farms. For various reasons for them, it wasn't the right time to continue through with the full management option from end to end. However, there was one farmer who will likely use the tool to manage their own newly planted forestry block. And we'll actually hear from them a little bit later, as they're one of our innovators we've got presenting today. Really cool to see the results and get a bit of an understanding of the picture of what's happening on those farms from a carbon perspective as well. If there's any questions at all on any of these innovators from the spring, feel free to pop them into the Q&A. We actually have some of them on the call with us today, so they might be able to answer some of those. Or if you just have any general curiosities that I might be able to answer, feel free to pop them in the chat and we can, definitely address them as we go along. We have a really exciting lineup of innovators for our 2024 Pilot Farm Network season. 3 you'll hear from shortly, and we have a few more waiting in the wings for later on in the year. This next section of the webinar is where you have the opportunity to sign up to a pilot, give these a go on your own farm at a special discounted rate, and settle in to listen carefully. We're going to kick off with Mobble, a company founded in Australia with a simple way to record your livestock movements and records for compliance. They already have awesome integrations with other platforms and make sharing data super easy. Then we're going to kick into Floating Peaks, our local spotlight. So they have created wool pole protectors out of their farm's own wool, and it's really great to share a sustainable biodegradable alternative to plastic pole sleeves as well. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with a bit of a coming soon teaser from IF. They have the goal of getting a farm in every pocket, and I'll let Nathan share the details with you a little bit later. Same thing, if you have any questions come to mind as each of these presenters is going through, feel free to pop them in the chat and I'll read them out at the end of each presentation so they can answer them directly. And I'm sure you're all very ready to hear from someone else now. So without further ado, I will hand over to Jock from Mobble to present.
Thanks so much, Christy. I'm just going to share my screen now. Alrighty, give me a thumbs up if that looks good. Awesome, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Jock Lawrence, the founder and CEO of Mobble, a livestock farm management software that aims to make farmers' lives easier and more successful in everything that we do. Firstly, a big thanks to Christy for putting on today and the team at Ignition Ventures for the opportunity, and thanks to you all for tuning in. Really appreciate everyone's time. A bit of background on Mobble. So a few years ago, over 5 years ago now, my dad and I were looking for something to digitize our on-farm records. We needed to get all the knowledge out of my dad's head and somewhere we could easily access it. We tried various software, but they were either too clunky, overcomplicated, or angled towards other types of farming didn't suit us. So I started Mobble in a bid to find the most suitable software for our family farm. And from the beginning, Mobble has been a farmer-led company built off farmer feedback. We created livestock farm management software that sort of strips back the complications and focuses on connection and simplicity. It's made by farmers for farmers. And since those humble beginnings, we've grown to help thousands of farmers manage millions of livestock across Australia and New Zealand and beyond now. We've evolved from a basic record keeping tool to a comprehensive farm management and communication solution for the whole farming team. And we've recently opened up an office in New Zealand we're super excited about to help localise our efforts here and make sure we're listening to New Zealand farms and incorporating their feedback directly into our software. And that's with the help of our farm success modeler, Katie McCabe, who's on the call today, who's our NZ farmer advocate based in Canterbury. If you call Mobble the NZ number, that's who you'll get. She's the legend. Now, the Mobble app, as you can see up here, is designed to simplify livestock management and improve efficiencies in your farm operation from the farm up. With Mobble, you're getting real-time updates accessible from any device, online or offline, ensuring everyone in your business has access to the most important farm records. Now, the best way to understand Mobble is just to show a quick video. So I'm going to play this video in the background, and it'll sort of just give you a bit of just something to look at, I guess. And I'll give you a lightning quick run through of what it's all about. So I'll just kick this off, make sure the quality's all right. So Mobble has two main apps. The mobile app that's used out in the field and is fully accessible online or offline with GPS enabled maps. And the web app on the computer, which is the same app, but with extra reporting functionality. You can view Mobble in three main ways: by your mobs, paddocks, or by the farm map, and record information across the whole farm. Starting with your mobs, recording all your livestock movements, as well as full livestock reconciliation records, such as all your natural increase, purchases, sales, and casualties. With the livestock movements, we're also measuring paddock performance, your days grazed and days rested on paddocks, as well as measuring how heavily stocked the paddock has been over time, so we can work out how well paddocks are performing and see which paddocks are the best performers for your property as well on the grazing side. And we're also recording key compliance records, including mob treatments and withholding periods. We do some smart things that shows which paddocks or mobs are in withhold. And we have a full chemical inventory to help with that compliance tracking, mob movements tracking, and you can even map in your hazards in the farm map for OH&S as well. So trying to cover a lot of those key compliance components. Auditors, they love Mobble, they often recommend Mobble, and we have a good relationship with companies in NZ like NZ Merino to help reduce that audit burden for farmers as well. Other key features of Mobble include task management, rainfall records, property chat, mapping of all your farm assets so you can get them all in the farm map, along with summaries and multi-property reports of larger farming businesses and corporates as well. All printable, and you can export those in CSVs. One of the key benefits of Mobble is having all your farm information in one place and being able to give varying levels of access to your whole farming team. For my family farm, it's my 2 brothers, my dad, and a worker who all have access to the app. You can see all the information they need to go about their day. What this means is fewer phone calls, less chances of stuff ups, and better decisions for the business. We've also recently added a new feature called Mobble Connect, which gives you the ability to add in farm advisors, contractors, stock agents, and accountants. Each of these people get a specific view of the farm in Mobble, so they can get the information they need to help you to get the most out of your land and business. You can imagine an accountant, they have access to your livestock reconciliation report. A contractor, like a spraying contractor, has access to the map and they can see which paddocks they need to spray and stuff online or offline. That's a couple of examples. All right. So those are some of the features, but what are the key benefits? A few of the key benefits is efficiency. It significantly reduces the time spent on record keeping across your entire business. Data-driven insights with all your farm data in one place. Mobble helps you make better management decisions, enhancing overall productivity. User-friendly interface. We're hell-bent on making Mobble really simple and easy to use for everybody. It's easy to adopt no matter your tech skill level. Even those that aren't tech savvy find it easy to use. If my dad can use it, anyone can use it. So also pretty big on compliance as well. It's built for the complex NZ compliance landscape in mind. We're helping you stay on top of those regulatory requirements. We don't record everything, but we try and tick off a lot of those boxes, so it's a lot easier come audit time. Our ideal customers, livestock farmers or mixed farmers even, of varying sizes, no matter 50 head or 10,000 head of stock, Mobble's going to work for you. Cattle, deer, goat, sheep, basic cropping records in there too, you name it. Here are some of our favourite Kiwi farmers that use Mobble. Tom Small, he says Mobble gives him confidence that his records are all okay when he gets audited. Andrew Patterson, when the bank manager calls, he can just look up how many steers he's got and tell him exactly there and then, so information at his fingertips. Also, Andrew's he's been with us for 4 years now and helped us build an app to cater for NZ farmers like himself. So he's been a fantastic support. And Todd Walker, it's all very simple and it's developed by farmers for farmers. You can't really fault. It's just pretty bloody good, which we love to hear. There's some of the testimonials from our favourite mobblers in New Zealand. The pilot. We're super excited to work with Ignition and invite you to participate in our pilot program. Here's what you need to know. The pilot duration, you will have 3 full months of access to Mobble's features and support. The normal thing is you get 21 days, but this pilot we're giving 3 months access. The benefits is that we'll get tailored custom support from Katie, our local mobbler in Canterbury, and training during the pilot as well. And at the end of the pilot, if you want to go ahead, there's a 20% discount on the first year of Mobble. To help you out, we can even upload maps from Hawkeye or a KML file to save you time. So that's just a little note. The only thing we ask in return is that you provide feedback on how Mobble performs for your operation. Like, this feedback is super important as we continue to build a product built for New Zealand farmers and keep building it better for you guys. That's what that pilot's about for us. If we've never had a deal quite like this, I think it's a credible opportunity to jump on and for Kiwi farmers to give it a go and help us support even more NZ farmers in the years to come. That's us, and thank you for your time today. Katie and I are super excited to support farmers big and small in Mobble. If you have any questions, these are my details, these are Katie's details. Maybe give a screenshot or take a photo of that when we get the opportunity. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jock. After having a bit of a scout around Mob myself, I can definitely agree it's looking super, super farmer friendly. And I love the ability to share the data with whoever needs it as well. I think that's really, really awesome. So thank you so much for sharing. And you'll see up on the screen now, essentially what we do now is we have the opportunity open to the floor for people to sign up to this pilot. It's a really simple QR code. What you do is you just open the camera on your phone, hold it up close to the screen. We can't see you, so you can get as close as you like. And a wee yellow box will pop up, which you just click on, which takes you straight through to the form. In that form too, there's a little bit of an opportunity to provide some feedback. So if you have any comments on what you've seen so far today or about this webinar itself, feel free to drop them in there. We love hearing from you. directly from that. If there are any questions that anyone has for Mobile, you're most welcome to pop them in the Q&A directly, and then I can read them out for Jock. I'll give everyone just a minute to use the QR code and think up any questions you have, whether they're specific to your farm or just about Mobile in general, that Jock might be able to answer while we're all here. Here we go. We have a wee question popped through. We have a question here for you, Jock, that says, is it based around a single farm unit, or does it have applications for service providers such as pregnancy scanners to generate data and reports for multiple farms?
Yeah, great question. I mean, like it's built for the farm unit, but you can add farm advisors in there to provide more information on something, but it's more built around the farm unit, to put it more generally. But the beauty is with Mobile Connect is the farm can choose to invite whoever needs access to the app, such as scanners, and that scanner or whoever has access will have, can have a list of properties that within Mobile that they have access to.
Thank you, Jock. Awesome. Any last questions for Jock? Well, if you think of any others, just pop them in the chat and I'll bring them up at the end as well. We'll have a little bit of opportunity to follow up anything else that might come to mind as we carry on through. Perfect. So next up we have Anastasia presenting from Floating Peaks, and they have their wool pole protectors to share with us this evening. Thanks, Anastasia.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Chrissy. I'll just share my screen now. Beautiful. Cool. So, kia ora team. Firstly, I just want to say a big thank you to Chrissy and Ignition and everyone for tuning in. It is a huge honour and a privilege to be here. My name is Anastasia Tristram, and together with my husband, we own Floating Peaks. Now, I guess the first thing to answer is, who are we and how did we get here? Now, I wouldn't say we have taken a traditional route into farming and business. In fact, I grew up in Wellington believing sheep were born without tails until I met Hayden, who understood the basic anatomy of a sheep, having grown up in Central Hawke's Bay on his family hill country sheep and beef farm. We both started our journey or careers as medics in the New Zealand Army, but fast forward a few years, and before we knew it, we were spending weekends on the parents' farm, only to move in with them to see if farming really was for us. Long story short, over 4 years later, and we have never looked back and are enjoying, for the most part, riding the wave of farming. Where does Floating Peaks fit into it? Well, in 2022, whilst under the illusion that maternity leave would leave me with free time, we decided it was a perfect time to turn a few bales of wool from our ewes into felt and see what we could do. We had a few ideas, but nothing set in stone. We're practical people, so we knew that once we had the product in hand, we could have a play and see what eventuated. With a quick bit of R&D, our initial range of products focused on garden and landscaping. And to put it bluntly, we sold wool pots, some seed beds, and the more glamorous option of wool weed mat. Now, although this isn't actually where our products stopped, it was during this time that we dabbled in anything and everything in order to diversify our wool. It was also about this time that we were starting to plant poles on the farm. And Hayden said to me, why not wool pole protectors? Now, I must admit, at the time, I was like, oh yeah, all right, let's give it a go. I wasn't fully convinced, but like everything, we figured, what's a harm? And we prototyped a whole bunch and placed them on our poles. Now, fast forward a year, Lachlan Gabriel hit, and our poles were looking really good. And I had to admit, maybe he could be onto something. So that brings us to our wool pole protectors. Currently, upwards of 120,000 poles are planted annually every year, with the only option for protection being made from plastic. Now, this plastic waste is often left on farm where it remains until physically removed. As most poles are planted on erosion-prone land, this plastic waste often lays there for years, if not forever, which is not ideal in our pristine backyards. By utilising wool as a protection of poles, we are simply applying what we already know about wool into a new context. One, it's breathable. This will allow the bark to naturally harden. It's hygroscopic, which will absorb and release moisture as needed. It is natural and renewable, making it 100% biodegradable, and it is strong, crafted from high micron fleece wool. Now, after the first year of having wool pole protectors on the farm, we knew that in order to be successful, we needed validation. As we all know, it's one thing to have them work in your own backyard, but it is another thing for people to believe it's worth. In 2023, we knew we needed to put it to the test, and we wanted to see how other farmers found them and how they perform within different climatic regions. Now, at this stage, we actually tried to outsource the trial. We wanted to give it a lot of validation, but unfortunately, we were unsuccessful. So, failing that option, we ran our own trial. So, we self-funded and managed to successfully find 15 farms throughout New Zealand, including 4 from Pamu, who were willing to give our product a shot. Now, I know to a lot of people this probably doesn't seem impressive, but considering we're a small business and we're also trying to keep our product under wraps from competition, it was a huge accomplishment from us. Our initial trials have also allowed us to improve and make some adjustments to our original wool pole protectors. Now, these include the material. So we originally tested both our high micron fleece wool and recycled wool. The reason we did this was actually to safeguard the product if wool prices were ever to increase substantially. But it quickly became apparent that high micron fleece wool was far superior, with no reported results of tearing from stock rubbing. And I guess it is true what they say, they call it strong wool for a reason. Thickness, we have also opted to increase the thickness to extend the durability. Our original wool pole protectors start to show signs of degradation around the trunk at the 18-month mark. And application, we've also improved the technique and the instructions to make sure they are as sturdy as possible. Now, this year we have, instead of doing a couple of bales, we've actually turned our entire U-clip into wool pole protectors. That was nearly 3 tons of greasy wool. But that's the confidence that we have a product that is ready to perform in 2024 and beyond. So that brings me to the next part, which of course is the pilot. We are looking for farmers that are planting poles on their farm this year. We would ideally like them to be planting a quantity that would allow them to test both the wool pole protectors alongside their normal method of protection to give it a safe trial. Poles are also expected to be prepared and planted in accordance with the best practice guidelines. And there's 3 key areas that we want to focus on throughout our pilot. Now, the first one is application. We want to understand how farmers find the process of application, particularly when it comes to time, ease, and what they think of the process. Important to note that wool pole protectors can actually be applied before or after ramming, and we have developed an applicator that is more of a luxury item that just helps the wool pole protector slide over the top of the pole itself. Durability, we want to understand how they perform against pests. Now, this is a big one because currently on our different locations, we have not had any reports of notable pest damage from the likes of deer opossums. However, it is still too early to understand exactly where that level of protection sits. So we need to learn more about where that is. We also want to understand the longevity. So our expectation and hope is that our wool pole protector that we're releasing this year will last up to 3 years and beyond. With longevity, we also want to build farmer confidence in our product, as well as key stakeholders through the likes of councils. Now, requirements of being a part of the pilot are quite minimal, so we will require you to partake in 4 online surveys. So there'll be 1 survey to be completed after application and 1 that will be required in the early months of 2025, 26 and 27. Each survey will require photos to be taken and uploaded, but the survey itself is designed to take no longer than 15 minutes to fill out and will be question and answer based. Now, the part you've all been waiting for, being part of the innovation. Currently, we are selling our wool pole protector singly for $10.50 each. However, thanks to Ignition, the first 25 farmers who sign up will receive 1 free box. And yes, you did hear that correctly, 1 free box when you're the first 25 to sign up. But the deal doesn't stop there. We are also offering pilot farms an exclusive discount. When purchasing a box of 40 wool pole protectors, you will only pay $320 per box, which equates to about $8.50 each. Plus, you will also receive a free applicator, which is valued at $30. Plus, you will also get free delivery. And as the great Suzanne Poole would also say, but wait, there is more. For those who participate, we really want to encourage participation throughout the entire length of the pilot. So if you continue to participate in our trial, you'll also be eligible for a further $1 off the recommended retail price of wool pole protectors for every year that you participate in the trial. When you tie that offer compared to what is on the market, the plastic protector retails for roughly the same, if not more, than the wool pole protector. It is an attractive reason to try them whilst also supporting your own backyard. Now, lastly, I really just want to take the time to say we are small in the world of innovation, in the world of business even, and all costs associated with trials and development have been from our own pocket so far. But we know that the future success of our product relies a lot on more skin in the game. And to get skin in the game, we need your help. So if you're on the fence or you're not sure, just give it a go anyway, because if you believe in wool, please believe in us. and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. It's so nice to be able to put the spotlight on a local business working within the sustainability space. We've already had one question pop through for you guys specifically. So a wee question for you, Anastasia. I'll read it out in its entirety. So, great initiative, guys. Possums are an issue for us, and as bad as plastic does provide some protection, would the wool pole protector not provide a good climbing ladder for possums, or are they deterred from it as it's a fibre?
Absolutely, great question, and one that we've often had ourselves as well. So to put it into context, we have a trial site in Northland at the moment which had notorious possum issues and damage. The wool pole protectors have not received any. Same with another trial site in our Gisborne region as well. Look, there are talks that maybe land on it as a deterrent. However, it's too early to say if it does offer protection or it doesn't. But that's why you possibly could be the perfect opportunity to actually give them a go. No damage yet, but more skin in the game. The more farmers like yourself that we can get in, the more understanding that we're going to get.
Awesome. So same deal as before. We obviously have the QR code there on the screen for if you're interested in getting a box or two of the wool pole protectors. Feel free to use the wee camera on your phone and sign up directly using that QR code. While giving you an opportunity to do that, we do have another question that's popped through. It is great idea. What kind of wool are you using? Is it the offcuts or the main line?
Perfect. So I mentioned it a little bit in my speech, but it is actually our entire ewe fleece line. So it's not the dags, it's not the bellies. We've actually found that the staple length is actually an integral part of the integrity of the protector itself. So yeah, it is our Romney ewe fleece line. It's a high micron. We're sitting at about a 35 to 36 micron, and that's all that's in it. That and cotton, so it's fully 100% biodegradable. We did also test recycled wool, and the shortest staple lengths just weren't superior. And just to reiterate, using the high micron fleece wool, we had no damage reported from the likes of rubbing or like rubbing from stock.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And yeah, if there's any more questions that pop up while you ponder on everything that Anastasia shared, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll round them out towards the end. Feel free to use the QR code to jump in and sign up. It is only the first 25 that are getting that deal. Make sure you're in quick. We're definitely running a first in, first served sort of a basis on these pilots. Get amongst it while you can. Thank you so much, Anastasia. Really appreciate it. Awesome. So next up, we will be closing out our innovator presentations tonight. We have Nathan giving us a bit of an insight and a bit of a coming soon teaser to what IF's all about and what they have coming to New Zealand very soon. Over to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Christy. I do only have 5 minutes, not 10 minutes on your agenda, so it's going to be a very brief introduction, but hopefully you can see my slides there. Can you, Christy? Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate everyone's time today. Hopefully my internet holds. I'm in regional Victoria and we're getting a very welcome storm coming through. Hopefully it's going to jump 40 or 50 mils, but that does play havoc with my internet. So my name's Nathan McPhee. I'm the founder of IF. We essentially help good farmers do more while taking less risk. And I only have a short amount of time today, but I look forward to sharing a little bit about our journey and our story, which really is one of farmers. And fundamentally, the way we looked at farming and we looked at agriculture is it doesn't matter who you are. And I know we have 70 people on the call today. Most of the people here would be farmers, but it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone needs food, fibre, and therefore farmers every single day. But unfortunately, in Australia and in most developed and even developing countries, people are increasingly disconnected from farming, food and agriculture, and they have few ways to participate. Think about it, the only way to be involved in farming, certainly in Australia, is to buy a farm, and the only way to do that is to inherit one or normally get very wealthy and buy one. So you have a situation that everyone needs it, but most people have no idea about it and can't participate in that. And the unfortunate other element or other side of it is that farming is becoming increasingly challenging, and it's the farmers that endure all of the risk. There are not many industries in the world where you can work for 3, 6 or 12 months and have absolutely no idea how much you're going to get paid. And that really is farming. It is challenging and increasingly so, fulfilling but challenging. Ultimately, IF is really here to change that. It starts with mobile phones. So we offer in Australia for the time being a world first approach to investing in agriculture where everyone can benefit, particularly farmers, but certainly investors as well. And we do that by enabling anyone to invest in agriculture without owning a farm. So consumers, primarily people living in the city, they can buy real farm assets at the start of the growing cycle. And the farmers, those on your call, they just grow them out as usual and provide updates along the way. And when that product is harvested and sold 3, 6 or 12 months later, if it's a good season, everyone shares in it. If it's a poor season, the investor wears it. So we provide risk-free capital to farmers, consumer-sourced capital that essentially allows them to do more while taking less risk. We don't provide loans. We don't provide debt to farmers. And because of the nature of the equity capital we provide, it reduces risk and builds a really strong connections. And so for our farmers, and we have many of them, it helps smooth the thriving and surviving cycle or roller coaster that unfortunately is farming. So in our few years of existence, and we've kept a very low profile for a long time, we've actually created the most diversified farming company in Australia. Now, I'm on a Ravensdown call here, so interestingly, we're structured as a co-op. So our IF cooperative in Australia has got incredibly diversified farming interests in every state of Australia. We have collectively invested into millions of oysters and thousands of sheep and goats, a whole range of cattle, Brangus in Queensland and Angus in New South Wales and Wagyu in Tassie and dairy cattle. We've invested into cropping in multiple states. In cropping, we'll invest when the farmer sows the crop. Will cover all of their input costs at the sowing. They have the funds to cover sowing, the growing and the harvest, and their obligation to repay is only how well the season goes. We've supported farmers in wheats and oats, canola, fodder, and also hemp. Horticulture is a huge sector of ours. We've invested into watermelons and apples and ginger and wine grapes and avocados and tomatoes and potatoes and vegetables and cherries. The list is endless. We have worked with some amazing farmers in our short existence. We help them do more while reducing their risk simultaneously. And we actually do it using consumer capital. Those little dots are our investors across Australia, and the bigger dots are some of our farmers. And so a good byproduct of this is consumers learning about supporting the industry that feeds them and participating along the way. Our vision is to put a farm in every pocket. And we've had some exceptional growth and work with some brilliant farmers in Australia. We're looking at how we can support New Zealand farmers with a similar model in the months ahead. For us, it's a very different ask from our pilot. Yeah, we know New Zealand farming is different to Australia and different to other countries. We want to understand the nuances, the challenges, but probably most importantly, the opportunities, and to see where a new form of capital that responds to the challenges farmers face and the opportunities presented to them can assist New Zealand farmers. So yeah, that's what I want to introduce today, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with a number of you in the near future.
Thank you very much, Nathan. It's such a great concept, and I know every time you speak on it, I am excited for the app to come out so I can invest myself. If there's any questions at all for Nathan, please feel free to pop them in the chat. This is like quite a new concept. Fully understand that this is a really brief snapshot of how it all works, and he'll certainly be giving a bigger overview as time comes and they come into the New Zealand market properly. On the screen, the QR code will send you, same as the others, to a form. It's more of an expressions of interest though, so feel free to give your details there, and then we can put you sort of first in line to hear of any new updates and things from IF directly. We have had a question pop through for you, Nathan.
Yeah.
So I'll read it out. So really interesting concept. Why do people external to farming want to invest and take the risk? What is an investor's return?
Awesome. No, a really good question. I mean, we've created a very unique investment proposition. It's an investment portfolio for consumers, but instead of having stocks and bonds, you literally have a cow, lambs, apples, and wheat. So it is a unique investment portfolio that can deliver profit with purpose. Now, the key to what we do, though, is we acknowledge that farming can be profitable, but it's highly volatile. And that means that farmers are riding a thriving and surviving cycle. You know, there's good seasons and inevitable poor seasons. Our investors can do what most farmers can't do. They can diversify, and they can diversify significantly. They can diversify both geographically, sectorally, or indeed on different farmers. So if someone wants to invest in cattle, for instance, they can literally buy different cattle of different breeds, of different stages, one at a time on different farmers. And so the biggest determinant of outcomes in agriculture is inherently weather orientated, climate and weather. So we can invest right now in melons in far north Queensland, or cattle in New South Wales, or oysters in South Australia. We can absorb the volatility and the variability of risk that comes with agriculture. We can then spread that risk because we are absorbing it from the farmer. We know that things don't always go well. In Australia, we had a massive collapse in lamb and cattle prices last year. We rode that wave as well. When we've invested or bought a lamb, we've paid for what it's worth, plus the farmer's carrying costs. If it sells for less, it's our investors who wear that. But to give you an example, if we bought a lamb for $100 and it sold for $80, the investors lost $20. And they typically are only investing a few $100s into the hundreds of trades that we have done. It's about absorbing the challenges of farming. Yes, we will seek a return, but only when the farmer has one to deliver. And we share the stories. People love to pull their phone out at a party and say, hey, look, I own a cow. And here it is on a map and I can see it. And my farmer sent me an update, or I just sold some lambs. It's fun, it's engaging, but it's there to solve a real life challenge for farmers.
Thanks.
Do you want me to answer the next one, or you want to read it, Christy?
Oh, can you see them from where you are? If you want to read it out first.
The question here is, will it be open to retail or limited to wholesale? So in Australia, we wanted to make IF as accessible as possible, where anyone can get started and invest as little as $100 to start their farm journey. And so we are actually structured as a cooperative in Australia. So it means that you can get going whether you want to invest $100 or $100,000. It's accessible to everyone. Right now, we are working on what the licensing arrangements in New Zealand that would allow us to operate. And our goal is to make it as accessible to anyone. You know, we want an 18-year-old kid investing in a lamb or two. We want a 45-year-old woman to invest in some melons, pineapples, and apples. So it's accessibility is key, and that takes some creativity when it comes to regulatory structures.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Jess was just popped in the chat there. If you've got them handy, Nathan, maybe as we kind of carry on into the next section, you could pop the links up into the chat for anyone to watch after this.
Let me do that. I'll put it into the chat.
Oh, thank you so much for that, and thanks everyone for your questions. We have one more question. Could you invest in the milk price for a dairy farm?
We have been able to support the whole breadth of agricultural production. The way we look at it is, if it grows, it takes time and there's uncertainty, we can invest in it. Now, the difference with milk, we have invested into milk and we have supported dairy farmers in a couple of ways. One is to either invest into new genetics, or the other is to increase the herd size. And our return is the volume and value of milk produced over a period of time. Essentially, in that time, we're taking the variability of milk production, we're taking the variability of price off the investor. But I don't know how much we would be focused on New Zealand dairy in the first instance. It's probably more on horticulture, cropping, and sheep and cattle. There's a question here on how much an investor earns on a successful sheep or cattle trade. Yeah, that's a good question. There's been some challenges in Australia around what success looks like, because we've come off a bit of a cliff there. They could earn anywhere from 10 to 20% or negative 20 to 30%, because it's the cow or the sheep that we own and we have bought, and which means the obligation or the value that's returned to the investor is only how much that sheep or that cow sells for. We can all predict what it's going to sell for in a year, but it's only that. It's a prediction. There's weight gain, there's duration, time, and then there's price variability. And the whole point is that's what we're taking from the farmer.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We've also just had a question pop through here for you, Anastasia, if you wouldn't mind jumping off mute to answer it. We have one here that says, I understand you're at the startup phase, but have you developed a scale-up plan that includes what you could pay other farmers to purchase wool?
Yes. Hey, Richard, great question. So I guess to answer that question, we have to say that our main business is farming, right? So we are wool producers. So at the moment we have a price point of about $3 a kilo, but we will keep scaling up the price to make it what the price of wool is. And honestly, if the price of wool comes to a point where wool pole protectors are no longer financially viable, then that's a win to us in our eyes. The lower end of the scheme, it's not really a premium for us. Our wool revenue is about stabilizing our price point so that it's not going to keep going down. So at the moment, by diversifying our wool, we can predict our wool income, and if we need to scale that price up, we will do so. And if wool pole protectors become unfinancially viable, then that's also a win in our books as well. But thank you for your question.
Thank you very much. Awesome. I suppose moving on from this section, we're just looking a little bit bigger picture, I suppose, at the Pilot Farm Network. The future of the Pilot Farm Network is looking so bright, and we're having conversations with other parts of industry to collaborate on making this network even bigger and better. It's still very much keeping the goal of getting innovations on farm quicker, but hoping to extend our reach out into the world and bring even more amazing innovations into New Zealand farmers. So I suppose heading towards the closing of this evening, we'll post up the 3 QR codes for you guys to have a final sign up to while we're here. Very much still going to be that first and first serve. If you have an inkling, then best to get onto it as soon as you can. I do really want to say a big thank you to our innovators for presenting this evening. There were some really awesome insights and opportunities to our Pilot Farm Network group. They're more than happy to take any further questions as well on anything you've seen here tonight. Our innovators on what they've presented, the network itself, happy to answer any questions on that and how it all works. And also looking back into our spring innovations that we mentioned right at the start. If there's any questions or queries around those, I'm more than happy to answer them. Just pop them in the chat. I'm just going to remain on the slide just for a minute or two, just to give people the opportunity. You can absolutely sign up for one or more of the pilots and express some interest in IF and finding out a little more and keeping up with what's happening there. If you're not 100% sure that it's right for you and have questions that are specific to your farm or your farm situation, that's also fine too. Like, still feel free to use the QR code, and when our innovator gets in touch with you, they can definitely chat through the specifics and see if it is a fit to continue through with the pilot itself. These sign-up forms will also remain open on our website for just a couple of days to catch anyone else who was unable to attend tonight. And I heard from a few people that they had rugby training on or whatever it may be. So these will be open on the Ignition Pilot Farm Network website just for a couple of days. So the next steps, I suppose, if you have signed up to one of our innovations, we'll gather all the names and hand you across to the innovator to contact you directly to answer any of those questions and get the pilot started. We'll still keep in touch with you. When I say we, it'll be me, to get feedback and hear how it's going periodically as well. Just checking in. We sort of run in a facilitation kind of capacity, so we're just here to bring these innovations to you and showcase their amazing opportunities to our farmer network and build that connection, I suppose, between the two. Also, if you know of someone who you think would be keen to get amongst one of these pilots, feel free to either share their details with me directly or get them onto our website to sign themselves up while these pilots are open. If there's anyone that sort of comes to mind when you've been hearing about anything that the innovators have presented today, they're more than welcome to get on the bandwagon as well. Feel free to share their details with us. A big thank you to you all for attending the webinar today. We're super excited to bring this Pilot Farm Network to you all, which you can probably tell. I think I probably have the best job in Ignition, getting to present this and getting to hear from really cool innovators and share some awesome innovations with farmers as well. I think it's just a really great opportunity to dive into the future of sort of ag tech solutions and drive collaboration as well between farmers and innovators, with the hope of creating better on-farm solutions for more efficient and sustainable farming down the line as well. Next up, we'll send out an email tomorrow with the details from the webinar, the QR codes, and also the link to the webinar recordings as well. So if there's anything in particular you'd like to watch back, that's also obviously for the benefit for those that weren't able to make it in tonight. Unless there are any final questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Also, any comments as well. Like, we'd love to have your feedback on what you've heard here tonight. So if you have any final thoughts, feel free to pop them in the chat so we can capture them, just to understand what you're thinking and feeling from what's been presented today. Thank you all very much for giving up some of your Thursday evening, and I hope there was something in here that you found interesting or intriguing. So yeah, very much appreciate your time. And if there's anything or any questions at all, my details are there on the screen. So feel free to contact me directly for anything going forward. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be catching you. Bye now.
Thank you.